at all. Never.
William,
Never
I've got a copy of the film coming up. Just start thinking about it now during the break. Tell me so we can play a minute or two clip a couple times. Tell me a good spot. I mean, there's a lot of good spots here. Maybe when we're introducing the modern FEMA camps, a clip or two that we can play of the film for the first time for people here today. But for new listeners who don't know about the FEMA camps, tell folks about your journey, why you made the film. Obviously, Glenn Beck was saying 6 months ago it wasn't real. I know that spurred some of it. What the film covers, what you chronicle in Camp FEMA.
Well, this journey began over 10 years ago, back when I was, just beginning to start learning about searching on the internet for these type of things, roughly 1995 or 6. And, back then, even then, the information you could find on FEMA camps on the internet, and they weren't called FEMA camps, but, internment camps or concentration camps in America, those type of things were readily available. There was a lot of information on it, but they coincided with a lot of really bad information, like, things that we couldn't necessarily prove, such as they're being shipped with 40,000 guillotines to Air Force bases across the country at underground sites, et cetera, et cetera. And although I don't have, a problem researching those types of things and putting them into a documentary if I can prove them, we couldn't prove any of that stuff. That's why I say there was a million things that we had to whittle down to about 1,000. What's credible? What can we prove? That's why this documentary is so unique, because there's nothing in it that can in any way be disproved and knock a hole in something else. The entire argument that is laid out, when people see this for the first time, they're going to, for the first time, realize that it's no longer an internet rumor. It never has been. All right, but, the whole process of getting here, Gary and I teamed up on this about a year and a half ago, just shooting footage and collecting everything we needed. This is the first time we've had actors in a production. So Gary's niece, Christina Reese, plays our young victim. And I think this is kind of a different emotional catch to this particular documentary, which is why I think a lot of people are going to really get into it. It's the most scary documentary that I've ever made, and not just because of the subject matter, but because of the way we laid it out. We're, obviously trying to set that tone that this is very serious, and we don't let up. We don't even start giving out solutions and things that you can do about this until probably, I'd say, the last 15 or 20 minutes of the documentary. And it really is a journey down the dark side of government and where this is not likely to head, but where this is going, with the legislation that we're talking about that legitimizes these FEMA camps, and the mindset of our leaders in Washington showing the legislation that they want to pass that demonizes people like you and me for simply speaking out about government policy. This is the mindset of our
That's right. You can't just cover FEMA camps. You've got to show all the other legislation, the attacks on free speech, the government saying our number one threat is gun owners and veterans, and we need to arrest them, and the police pulling veterans over and Ron Paul supporters. We just had a lady last hour it happened to, and they said, you got a short haircut, Ron Paul sticker, you may be terrorist. The whole Homeland Security system set up for we the people, lying to the good old boys, telling folks it was for Al-Qaeda. So you cover this in the film Camp FEMA, William. It's just amazing. Continue.
Yeah, it's very up to date. People will notice news clips and things in this documentary that may only be a week or two old, simply because, as we were finishing up the documentary, there were several things that broke. The Hal Turner story, for instance, where we were lucky enough to be able to get that in there so that we could show people that the COINTEL operations from the 1950s, 60s, and 70s never really ended. They were just continued under different names. And, the Glenn Beck segment, I don't know if you really got a chance to see that or not, but I don't think it was in the first edit that we sent you. But the Glenn Beck segment turned out to be just absolutely hilarious. It is funny to watch, which is the reason why we had to actually stick it after the credits. So people who get the film and you don't see Glenn Beck in there, you have to wait till the credits finish and then the Glenn Beck segment begins. And we did that mainly because it just totally broke the mood. It just totally broke the spell that we were trying to set for everybody, because you're literally laughing on the floor when you see it. No,
but that's smart, because it's a serious film with all the proof, with congressmen admitting it, with all the documents, all their own admissions, people saying camps are good, not just people exposing camps, and then you cut to Beck lying and saying none of it exists.
Exactly. So So
William
anyway.
Lewis, amazing job. I want to talk about how the film starts, the Japanese, what happened to them. I want to open the phones up, too. We're going to take the calls that have been holding and new callers on this subject at 1-800-259-9231. Stay with us. It's Camp FEMA with William Lewis, the director.